So on the fifth page, there are no Hall of Famers. Some fairly decent players. You can see in the middle of the third row, Del Crandall, the great Boston Braves catcher from the 1948 team. And then on the bottom row is Carl Furillo in the left-hand corner there. The Reading Rifle, right fielder from the Brooklyn Dodgers. And next to him is Ralph Branca, the Dodger relief pitcher, and the unfortunate fellow who threw Bobby Thompson the ball that Thompson hit for the shot heard around the world to close out the 1951 National League playoff that they held because the Dodgers and the Giants have finished in a tie. Over on to page 6. There's one Hall of Famer down at the bottom in the middle. That's Red Schoendienst, the Cardinal second baseman. And in 1950, he hit a home run in the All-Star game in the 12th inning to win it. After early in the game, I think it was in the first inning, Ted Williams crashed into the wall and broke his elbow and was out for nearly half the season. A couple of the Whiz Kids, the 1950 National League pennant winners, we had in the third row on the left, that's Pudd'nhead Jones. And in the middle, in the third row, that's Curt Simmons, a left-handed pitcher for the Phillies. And other than that, maybe the only other notable player there in the left column of the second row is Alvin Dark, who was the shortstop for the Giants, and then later on went on to manage the Giants and was manager of the 1962 San Francisco Giants pennant winners. Of course, Alvin played for the New York Giants. Moving on to page 7, we've got a couple of Hall of Famers on that page. In the top right-hand corner is Roy Campanella, the great Dodger catcher, 3-time most valuable player, Hall of Famer. And then in the middle of the second row is Duke Snider, who also was a great Hall of Famer. And something I didn't realize, we all know about, of course, about Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, the three New York center fielders, of which Duke was the National League Brooklyn Dodgers center fielder, Willie Mays, the New York Giants center fielder, and of course the great Mickey Mantle, the New York Yankees center fielder. But out of all of those great sluggers who played during the decade of the 50s, Duke Snider had the most home runs, something like, I don't know, maybe close to 389 perhaps. And then down in the lower right-hand corner is Richie Ashburn, who was the Whiz Kid Hall of Famer. And that's page 7. On page 8, down in the bottom left-hand corner, is Lou Boudreau, who is, among other things that Lou Boudreau did, is that he was a shortstop and manager on the 1948 World Series champion team. And he also is credited for coming up with the idea that since Ted Williams didn't hit a lot of ground balls to the left side of the infield, they put the shift on so that Boudreau moved over and played near on the other side of second base. And basically, if Ted was going to hit it in the ball to left field, it was probably going to be in the air and probably out for a home run. Although the famous story that Ted Williams tells in his book, My Turn at Bat, is he was taking batting practice one day, and the Red Sox had a catcher back then named Matt Batts, of all things. So Williams hit about 9 or 10 consecutive line drives to left field. He turned around to where Matt Batts was standing beside the batting cage, and he said, "You see that, Batts? I can hit a ball to left field whenever I want to, but they don't pay me to hit the ball to left field." So that's where that's the story of Ted Williams and Lou Boudreau. Another one of those great catching poses, Aaron Robinson down there at the bottom of that page. The next page is page 9, and right there, front and center on the top row, the great Ted Williams. So we got Lou Boudreau on the previous page at the bottom, and Ted Williams, and we got a story that connects them. You'll see 3 Yankees there in the second row. None of them Hall of Famers, but all pretty good players. And they were, no particular order, Vic Raschi, Bobby Brown, and Billy Johnson. So moving over to page 10, in the second row on the left, you can see Gil Hodges. Gil is a Hall of Famer. It took him a while to get there, but he made it. And then not a Hall of Famer, but a great one of the whiz kids. Down at the bottom of and middle of the page is Andy Semenuk, who was a Yankee catcher. And then that's on page 11. And then so that's that's Andy Semenuk up there at the top of the page. Another Hall of Famer down near the bottom of that page, third row on the right, is Joe Gordon. Played second base for the Indians in 1950. He also played for the Yankees, won an MVP in 1942 with the Yankees. And one of the oddities or trivia questions, if you like, in 1942, Ted Williams won the Triple Crown and did not win the MVP. And so the answer to the trivia question, who did win the MVP? Well, that's Joe Gordon. Let's see, row 12. Page 12 down in the third row on the left is Big Johnny Mize, the big cat. Turned into a really clutch hitter for the Yankees in the 50s. And then another fella who was a great pitcher for the Yankees in the second row, in the right-hand column, Allie the Chief Reynolds. Okay, so that takes care of Johnny Mize, and the next we have is a couple of Indians pitchers at the top of page 13. That's Mike Garcia, who was a 20-game winner in 1954, one of the top Indians pitchers. And then next to him, second row on the left, that's Early Wynn. So he is a Hall of Famer. And then we've got in the third row there, in the middle position, is Ellis Kinder, who is the great Red Sox relief pitcher, featured prominently in the book, David Halberstam's book, the summer of '49, when the Yankees and the Red Sox battled it down to the wire, with the Yankees eventually winning that pennant by one game. But Ellis Kinder was a big part of that team. And a couple of Yankees down at the bottom, Gus Nearhouse, Frank Speck Shea, and Fred Sanford. They're at the bottom of page 13. You can see them along that bottom row. On page 14, there are no Hall of Famers. There's a couple of great catching positions there. You can see Bruce Edwards and Bob Sheffing at the bottom of page 14. Again on page 15, there are no Hall of Famers. Oh, I did want to mention there at the bottom of the last position there on the bottom right is Harry the Hat Walker, who was a pretty good hitter, a great hitting coach, and managed for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 60s during some of the time that they had such great hitting teams. So the next page 16, also doesn't really have any Hall of Famers. On page 17, there are not really any Hall of Famers, but the last two fellas on page 17, number in the middle is Danny Murtaugh, the great Pirate manager. He was a second baseman and played for the Pirates. So he spent a large part of his career, and twice led the Pirates to the World Series, once in 1960 when they upset the mighty New York Yankees, and then in 1971 when he took over partway through the season and led the 71 Pirates, a great hitting team, and got decent pitching when they needed it. Along the same lines, one of the whiz kids in 1950, down there in the bottom right corner, is Granny Hamner, a outfielder shortstop for the Phillies. in on page 17, the catcher there on the top row in the middle is Stan Lepata, and a little short personal story. My Uncle Bill was cleaning out some stuff one time. He found a sports page from a newspaper in 1957, and it recorded a home run hit by Stan Lepata, which he gave to me and which I still have somewhere. Not immediately available, or I'd show it to you. Down at the bottom of the page in the center is Ed Lopat, one of the great Yankee pitchers. And then turning over to page 19, in the upper left-hand corner, there is Casey Stengel. And then a Yankee rookie, Hank Bauer, on the right-hand side there. In the middle is Cliff Mapes. I don't really know, but interesting nevertheless. And down at the bottom of the page, the fellow on the left there is the most valuable player for the 1950 pennant-winning Phillies, Jim Constanti. A couple of his kids, compatriots there. The manager of the team is the fellow on the right-hand side in the third row, Eddie Sawyer. So he's the guy that led the Phillies to victory, and he managed the Phillies up until the time when Gene Mauch took over. Some probably say it would have been better off if he'd have continued to manage the Phillies. I'm not one of them, though. I always say, well, who would you have put in to pitch, Art Mahaffey or Jim Bunning? Yeah, he pitched them a lot, but that's who he had. On page 20, there at the top in the left, the manager of the Cubs is Frankie Frisch, member of the Gas House Gang, St. Louis Cardinals of the 20s and 30s. Frankie Frisch. And right below him is Al Rosen, who some think really should be considered for the Hall of Fame. He almost won a Triple Crown. I think it was 1952. He got beat out by tenths of points in the batting race to Mickey Vernon, but he led the league in home runs and RBIs and came within a whisker of leading the league in batting as well. And then down at the bottom, on the I'm sorry, not at the bottom. On really no great Hall of Famers or players that I know stories about on the next page, on the rest of this page. But over on the next page, in the second row on the right is Walt Dropo, who was the Rookie of the Year in 1950 for the American League, Boston Red Sox. And then two more cards past Walt Dropo is Sam Jethro, who won the National League Rookie of the Year for the Boston Braves. So That's Sam Jethro. And then this page 21 closes out the set. I hope you enjoyed the look through my set of 1950 Bowman cards. Happy to have gone through them with you. I enjoyed seeing them again. And if you liked this sort of thing, be sure to like this video. And if you're so inclined, I'd appreciate it if you would also subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to work my way slowly up to 100 subscribers. And I'm told it can be somewhat difficult to find my channel, but if you did sit all the way through this, I'm Rocket Rick J18, and I'm wishing you that all of your collecting dreams come true.